The Punisher: No Mercy was a game developed by Zen Studios and published by Sony Computer Entertainment as an exclusive game for the PlayStation 3, released on July 2nd, 2009. This title flew under the radar for many people. If this title completely surprises you, I can't blame you. I came across this title a day after its release after seeing an article published about it on IGN's website roughly a few weeks before the game's launch. Zen Studios was taking the Punisher license in a completely new direction following THQ and Volition's take in 2004, in which I actually own, and one day I'll get to talking about it as I have quite a few things to say about it. This Punisher game was set out to be not an action-adventure third-person shooter game, but a first-person arena shooter with Frank and his various foes and even some allies to take part in the festivities. With both a single-player component and multiplayer suite for just $10, the Punisher: No Mercy had an opportunity to be one of those bang-for-your-buck kind of games. So, how is the Punisher: No Mercy? Oh, okay, the game isn't that bad, but it's not that great either. Punisher: No Mercy feels like a game that was brought up in a pitch meeting and everyone agreed upon the style of game and got really excited at the prospect of it, but then, due to budgetary or time-based reasons, ran out of resources to create something truly standout. While the character models are fine enough, closely resembling the year prior's Punisher Warzone film, and the art direction for the comic book panel story beats for what little plot this game attempts to have are fun to look at, including a serviceable voice cast and some pretty decent music when it's not drowned out by explosions and gunfire, that's all No Mercy really has to offer. Like I mentioned before, this game has very little plot, and its single-player portion can be beaten in under an hour, and maybe even less so if you're playing with a friend in co-op mode. With an ending that's incredibly abrupt and clearly teasing future downloadable content, of which never happened, by the way, and a game that never evolves past its most basic arena shooter elements, often pitting you in death matches where you need a certain amount of frags to win, or wave-based survivals, No Mercy quickly wears out its welcome incredibly fast. While you can earn a slight handful of weaponry and even some character mods which allow you to have certain benefits either passively or actively throughout the story mode, the amount you gain is very minor compared to what's available for unlock for meeting multiplayer requirements. At the end of the campaign, you'll at most unlock 2 out of the 3 secondaries, 2 out of the 4 primaries, 1 out of the 3 specials. This doesn't even include character mods or even character skins, which are also unlocked the same way via multiplayer requirements. The problem, however, is that the multiplayer for this game died a death not too long after the launch of this title. While servers were active, I vividly remember not having a great time with this game due to several connection-based issues and what felt like extreme host advantage. Not to mention that those who spent a decent enough time in the game, who made up the majority of players still playing, managed to unlock some of the more powerful mods and would essentially run roughshod on newer players or those curious enough to try without really allowing them to play the game with things like invincibility character mods. This would drive newer players away and skew the already dwindling player base to an even lesser degree. But the biggest thing that hurt me the most with this game is its control. Punisher: No Mercy, outside of balancing issues with certain character mods, is a serviceable, albeit highly forgettable arena shooter doing nothing more than the bare minimum and being completely bare bones with its selection of weapons and game modes, especially in comparison to other titles that came before it like your Unreal Tournaments and your Quakes. But even with all of this, if the game's control had been a little bit more tighter and if it leaned into the license a bit more, could have kept me coming back and probably many others. It all really comes down to the aiming. It just does not feel good. While I'm struggling to explain just how janky it feels, the visuals do more than enough to show you how rough it looks. Aiming movement feels incredibly clunky, and you're better off moving your character around physically with the left stick than having your aim get thrown off for drastically moving your reticle. Honestly, it feels like mouse acceleration, but for consoles. It's really weird, and it puts me off from wanting to play this for any extended periods of time. Add on top of that the hit detection feedback in this game is non-existent, so you never really know if you're winning a gunfight until someone is dead, and yeah, with things like invincibility mods, of which you never know if someone's running until they tell you, or even against bots where you feel like you're actually laying into them but they just never die, only for them to turn around and absolutely zero you, adds to the overall feeling of Punisher: No Mercy feeding you blanks instead of bullets. And No Mercy, much like blanks, it's all flash and no impact. The game would go on to be delisted from the PlayStation Network a mere 2 years after its release. Yet despite this game's failure, it wouldn't be the last Marvel project from Zen Studios. In a complete tonal shift, they would take the mantle of the Marvel pinball games, which for the most part seemed to be well received, so hey, at least something positive came out of this. I just wish it had been for Frank.